Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a low-cost luxury video where I show you one of the great finds that I find at either TJ Maxx or Marshall's. So today's item, what I found was the Risk Taker palette from MAC. And I picked this up from Marshall's for $24.99. This normally retails for $39. So about a $15 discount right now. They also had the Supreme Queen, and I believe there was one more which I'm forgetting the name of as far as the girls palettes from MAC. I really like the color combination that was in this palette because some of the other ones were kind of warm based with a lot of golds, which really aren't my thing. And they're pretty much quite a few of those color combinations out on the market. So this one I thought was really unique because here's the little protective sheet. It had some more interesting colors, especially this kind of magenta color over here I thought was very unique. This Risk Taker palette also reminded me of the new Anastasia Sultry palette. I think this magenta color was kind of giving me the feels of that coral color that's in the Sultry palette. It's not quite a dupe, but it just kind of gives me that vibe because of this magenta and then the coral similarities. But, so enough with those. I want to jump right into this, apply a look to my eye, see how the pigments kind of pick up on the brush, how they apply to the skin, and just a quick little review of this MAC palette. So let's get into it. I've already primed my eyes with the Urban Decay Primer Potion. So first I'm gonna go into the color Totally Fierce, and it's this kind of peachy pink over here. And I'm going to apply that into my crease. It does apply much more pink on the skin than it does in the palette. With more of like a satin sheen. In the palette it looks matte, but on the eye it's definitely more satin. And then below that I am going to go into bossing it and apply that in my crease a little lower than where Totally Fierce was. And this is coming off much more peachy orangey than in the palette. And very shimmery. You can see that. Not too bad though. And then in my outer corner, I'm going to go for it with the Fashion Fanatic, the magenta color, and I'm gonna put that right out here on my outer edge. Okay, so this is not quite the punch of color that I was expecting it to be. It is much more subtle to pick up, and I am using a pretty dense brush. So I'm gonna have to apply a bit more. I'm so used to working with the Anastasia shadow formula where you barely dip in and you get a big color payoff. This one is going to take much more building. From a lot of the pictures that I've seen online where they have this bright stark magenta, either eyeline or underline, it looks like it's just gonna be a really high color payoff immediately when you dip in, but it looks like they probably had to build that up quite a bit in reality to get that punch of pink. But it is blending well, so I think It's great if you don't want like a really stark color payoff and you kind of just want more of a subtle look. I think it's really doing well to give just a subtle version or a subtle touch of pink instead of a bright pink, and I think it can build up to a very bright color. So I'm liking that. I'm liking how it's a little more subtle than I initially thought it would be, and that way I can kind of adjust how bright I want to be pretty easily. I'm just going to carry that underneath. There we go. And then for just a bit more depth on my outer edge, I'm gonna go into Risky Business, this kind of shimmer smoky silver color, and apply that just towards my lash line on the outer edge. I'll blend this a little bit. Now for on top of my lid, I am going to go into Outfitted, this shimmery taupe color, and just apply that all over top. I'm going to go back into Totally Fierce, the kind of peachy color, and just add a little bit more on top to blend into Fashion Fanatic. And then on my brow bone, I'm going into Totally Obsessed, the kind of creamy light color, and just go up against my brow. And then touch on my inner corner into Let It Rock, this bright white, I believe that's the highlighter shade. I'm going to put that on my inner corner. Okay, so here's the finished eye look. I'm going to put on my mascara and liner, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my mascara and lashes on. So I have my mascara and liner on. It's just a quick final impressions of this Risk Taker palette. I thought it was really nice. I would say I'm not necessarily disappointed in the color payoff, but it did take more building than I was expecting. But then again, MACs are not usually my most favorite eyeshadow formulas because they're either a little more dry than I'm used to working with, or the color payoff isn't quite what I prefer. I do really like more of an Urban Decay eyeshadow formula or the Anastasia eyeshadows, just because I get quite a bit of color immediately when I dip my brush in. These are good. I would say the shimmers that I initially used, like this and this, those paid off really well. It was the very bright magenta that took some building, as well as this deep brown glitter color, or rather deep charcoal glitter color. So those took a little more building, but they did turn out really pretty, I think. So it's just kind of preference of formula. I think for all the colors in here, the fact that it is a MAC palette at Marshall's, if you are into MAC makeup, and especially adding to your collection. If you've been collecting some of these girl palettes, I would say definitely pick it up at Marshall's. There's 3 of them that I've seen, and so I would recommend picking it up. If you're kind of hesitant about MAC formulas, then maybe wait on this one and go for one of the maybe Too Faced palettes that's out there, or the Subculture palette, which I think is a really nice palette. A lot of color payoff. It blended well for me, and I have been using it, and I think it's great, especially for its unique color combination. So this had its plus and minuses. I would say overall it's a thumbs up, but it is a little more pricey for a Marshall's palette. So kind of give and take, weigh your options on whether or not you would want to pay over $20 for a palette. It is MAC. It does have a nice smooth formula, but if you're not really into it, then I would say to pass. So there are my final thoughts and opinions on this Risk Taker palette. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up, and I hope you will subscribe. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.